Hey folks, I I decided to do my post today without the piano because I noticed something as I was going to do my post. I noticed that I was um, almost like I felt like I was going to rely on the piano. Something came up in me and I thought, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do today. And I sort of had that feeling, and then I immediately thought, oh, but I can just play piano. Oh, I can lean into the instrument, and that's legit on some level because what happens when I actually kind of open myself to the instrument, as if you've seen these posts, you've probably seen a lot of times things emerge that are not intellectual. They're not coming from my mind. They're coming through my body. They're coming through to a whole other energetic dimension. And but something was showing up today where it was like, no, let's not go hide in the piano. I don't want to go in there and just kind of rely on the instrument. So I thought, okay, I'll do my post without the instrument today. And so now a couple of things are sort of bouncing around in my head because the thing that happened, my writing prompt for today in my new writing course, I guess I'd call it, was, what's your favorite story to tell? What's a story you love telling? And I immediately thought to myself, oh God, here we go again. This is that thing where I don't feel like I have any stories to tell, or I don't know what my favorite story to tell is. And I mean, I know that I recount all kinds of stories consistently. I talk to my students about my teachers. I talk about my creative experiences. I talk about my collaborations. I talk about my insights. I tell a million stories a day. But I don't have like a favorite story to tell. And I sense that I've always had a sense, and I think this is partly, maybe this shows up sort of in my creative work sometimes, because I've had a sense that they're natural storytellers. There are people who are just gifted at this art of recounting stories, whether they're true stories or made up stories or stories about themselves, stories about other people. And I've always had a sense like, oh, I'm not I'm not a storyteller like that. But hilariously, I've gone into like songwriting and theater writing as my creative passions. Ultra storytelling based mediums. And I'm good at that. I've noticed in myself, oh, I can actually do this. Like this is and I think on some level there was part of me that was challenging myself especially when I was starting out, just like recognizing that I was cultivating a craft that I wanted to really be adept at. But on another level, what's showing up for me right now is just more of this sense of how important it is to liberate myself from who I think I am. That's the biggest prison is who I think I am. It's everything. All the boundaries, everything that holds me and that sort of inhibits me is who I think I am. And it's really interesting. This is showing up right on time because, in the midst of this insight or this like thought that is coming to me about storytelling, I'm also realizing this much larger aspect of what I wrestle with when I answer a question like this, or when I actually, do need to tell a story and have to execute that work. It's like who I think I am shows up. And at this point, with the kind of work that I'm doing and the time that I'm giving to reflection and meditation and self-reflection, I'm gaining a greater and greater cushion of objectivity around all that. So like I have that who I think I am element, but I am gaining a little bit of like the skin of that membrane and my skin are sort of like drifting apart, and there's a cloud forming of consciousness in between. And I can look at that and say, that's who I think I am, but that's not who I am, and quickly make that shift. I think maybe that's my biggest takeaway. So I've been reading a book about habits by James Clear called Atomic Habits. It's a fantastic book, really, really well researched, and just an incredibly detailed and exhaustive both description of how habits work and also series of provocations and exercises and techniques for changing habits, developing the habits we want, etc. One of the things he talks about is how, like I was saying, if I notice this, by wrestling with this question of storytelling, this larger question is popping up for me about myself overall, and that gap between the who I think I am and seeing that. James Clear talks about when you miss a habit, the best thing you can do is set a rule for yourself that missing once is not the end of the world. Because what he says is a lot of times people miss once and then fall off the wagon. And he said the best rule you can make is miss once but never miss twice. So as soon as you fall off that, as soon as that habit slips, or as soon as something goes wrong, or as it inevitably does, you break the streak. Have a rule that you don't miss twice. You're going to come right back and start the next streak. And that's kind of what's coming through for me right now with this who I think I am thing, because who I think I am keeps coming back. Who I think I am is my ego. Who I think I am is my psychological identity. And that keeps coming back, and it'll kind of convince me for a moment of something. I'm not a storyteller, whatever it is. The habit is to not, as soon, because in that moment I'm sort of possessed by my ego. The habit is, the habit I'm trying to cultivate is, sure, okay, that happened. Now, back off it again. Now, create, as soon as I notice it, create that objectivity. Open the space. Open that gap between myself and who I think I am. That's the habit. And if I can kind of trip and fall and my ego grabs me, and then I immediately go, oh, wait, this is my ego, and step back, put that space back in there, I'm performing in a whole different way, because the ego, a lot of times the ego grabs you and it wants to, what it wants to do is spiral. It wants to hold on to you. And just that capacity of like stepping back, putting the gap in there, is the habit that I'm trying to cultivate right now. It's really important for both my creative work and also just my life, my whole life, personal life, relationship life, everything, kind of depends on the capacity to have a space between what my mind is doing, what my programmed, predetermined, unfree, essentially robotic programming is doing, and me, my consciousness, my capacity to hold everything in the universe, not to mention my tiny little ego. That's the habit that and meditation is obviously vital, but it's also more than that. It's also being willing to kind of vigilantly, day in, day out, in real time, not in meditation, detect when that space of consciousness has collapsed and I'm back in the robotics of it, and can bring myself back. It's not hard to bring myself back to awareness. Once we know how that feels, it's there. The space is there. It's always available. Never not there for us. So I'm affirming this for myself, and hopefully offering it to you as something that might inspire you or kind of give you something to play with. But it feels real important for me to declare that is my habit. I am the kind of person who, as soon as I fall into ego, it recognizes that and stands back up into consciousness. It's like tripping and falling and getting back up again. That's where I am today, people. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. So much love. Oh my God. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you soon.